We tried reconciliation and now I'm divorced and left with nothing. In 2018 my ex-wife had an affair. I was in the Air Force, stationed in Minot. Quite possibly the worst base to be at for relationships. I joined the military so I could marry her and have decent enough pay to start us off in our life together. We planned out the years I was in together, she was always a part of it. While I was in the military, I worked 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. most days. They were long shifts, but we were low-manned a majority of the time I was in. Sometimes I would be on call after work through the night so I couldn't go out very often. Still though, I tried to get us out to dinner together, tried to be there for all of her events, so much so I showed up to many of them in uniform just to get there before they were over. I even covered the costs of school for her and helped her pay down her previous schooling at Aveda. The plan we made together was based on taking turns attending school. I would go after her once she had her footing in a stable higher-paying job. I was fine with this, I loved her and I wanted to see us both succeed. At some point in 2017, she got new friends while working at Starbucks and began to go out with them often. This progressed for a year to the point I didn't see her at all due to my schedule and hers. We got a dog for her that I trained and took care of mostly by myself. I never left home after getting it because if I did, no one else was going to be with the dog for almost all of the day. She blamed me for our distance and problems throughout the entire marriage, saying I wasn't nice enough. In reality I was just being honest with her about my feelings. She said I was controlling her when I asked and pleaded with her to stop going out every day of the week so we could save money, so I could actually get to spend time with my wife. The escapades with her friends started with her going out and coming home at reasonable times, 11 p.m. sometimes 12. Eventually that became 2 a.m. and then other nights not at all. When she met him. At first, a couple of months before school started, I caught a text from a random guy while we were laying in bed together. I jokingly asked her, "Who is that, your boyfriend?" I wish I never said it. She paused for a moment too long and I immediately knew something was wrong. All those feelings started to come back. She played it off as just a friend. It didn't match up so I pressed her further. Then it was an emotional affair. It drove me nuts for the next few weeks at work. It didn't make sense with the behavior she had at the time. So I asked her again after sitting her down for a talk. She said it was a one-night stand. I held her, told her we can work through this, and she cried. I was in shock, but I did the one thing I knew I was able to, console her. It didn't sit right though. From there I pieced together more. I would ask questions, find inconsistencies, get yelled at for asking questions about a 2-year-old affair. Then I would catch more inconsistencies and the affair would grow as far as timeframe goes. Eventually I got back to the point of barely being able to function normally because I was being gaslit to hell and back again. To make things worse for me, I started school full-time. I had to leave my job at Milwaukee to do so. And Sarah, my ex-wife, started her big girl job. It all went to shit. Without her needing my money, she got worse, refused to talk with me. Our fights got worse, she would threaten divorce, call me names, or yell at me for being controlling because I kept asking questions. Overall, I think I might have gone through about 4 or 5 disclosure days where I caught a lie, then the affair changed in duration, the lies increased in size, and my trust fell even further. It ate me alive to constantly be evaluating everything. On top of which, I never got to leave the house due to COVID. It was absolute hell. Then I began to slip up too. I couldn't get basics done anymore, I began to smoke a lot of weed, she introduced me to it that year, I fell apart at the seams. My self-worth was and still is absolutely low. This went on for 2 years of reconciliation. I still don't know what happened really. I wish I had the truth for closure. We separated as a last resort effort. It was meant to be time for us to get apart and work on ourselves again. Instead, She gave me an ultimatum that separated our finances and said I need to get a job. It also stated that we might not try living together after the separation was done. To me, this was the final straw. I asked for a divorce. She became a very cruel woman after that. I was in my sophomore year of college and the program I was in was known for a kinda extreme workload. I was at school from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. most days. Working was not an option for the 15 or 16 people in my program. It was highly recommended that you not work or even have relationships while in the program. In 2018 she met a man from out of town, 36, rich, a 10/10 for most women. I had no idea who he was at the time, I didn't find that out until much later. But at the time, I was suspicious of what she was doing. She always said friends' places and the like, then berated me for being controlling when I asked. Often saying, "You don't need to know. Why do you care so much what I do? You have control issues," the like. She was very paranoid at this time, but that was pretty normal to me having grown up in the home I did. My mother often accused my dad of cheating or the like or not loving her. None of it was ever true, even close to true. I even thought I might be a narcissist for the longest time because she told me I was one. By this point my mental health was spiraling between work stress and home stress. I was in it bad. Suicide was a very prominent thought at the time. I came very close to pulling the trigger when I came home early one Friday, found her in the shower prepping to go to a party. I asked if she would stay, the answer was no. I asked if I could go too, she said no and I wouldn't like those friends. I didn't go. I knew something was wrong but for the life of me I couldn't fathom she'd be so far gone from the girl I knew for the last 9 years at that point. I put my pistol to my head but my dog was there and gosh she just means the world to me. It makes me tear up to think about that look she gave me. That dog is the reason I'm around and is spoiled to this day. I cried myself to sleep and my dog has never stopped being there for me since then. I found help for myself that year though and I broke free of my depression and anxieties by that fall. I blamed my hurt and depression the same way she did for her avoiding me completely. I felt trapped in the thoughts the way I do today. I wasn't being strong enough, wasn't being a good husband, wasn't being responsible enough, wasn't being mature enough, I wasn't enough. I could not see for the life of me that I had any intrinsic value or that meant my boundaries should be met without me having to earn it. I felt like I hadn't earned respect, honesty, or openness. Fast forward a few years to the beginning of COVID. By then I had gotten a job outside of the military, having left it in 2019. I started a job at Milwaukee Tools, a fantastic company to work for IMO, but I wanted to go to school. A dream of mine was to work as an industrial designer, something I denied myself because I didn't think I could ever be up to par. I decided I would take time to put together a portfolio and apply. I had never taken art classes before so I had to teach myself while doing so. I picked up woodworking, sculpting, daily sketching, and painting. It paid off in spades. I wasn't only accepted, but I got a scholarship for the remaining $20,000 of tuition costs that my GI Bill wouldn't cover. Then I found out about the affair and the whole world came crashing down around me. We divorced in February 2023. I fell into an extreme pit of depression and exhaustion almost immediately. I was already grasping at straws. Then the financial ruin hit me. I had no money, couldn't afford rent, and couldn't afford school. I've been looking for work since March, but I've only recently been able to somewhat think clearly. I'm 30, I don't have a career, I don't have school, I don't have a marriage, I don't have kids, I need help from my parents for the first time since I was 16. I am worthless as a partner and with the 2-year work gap, all of my interviews have basically said, "How do we know you aren't going to leave?" Where in the past I could handle extremely high-stress work and situations, I now feel like a pitiful wreck. And now I see her, she's gotten a promotion, has a new relationship within 2 months of our separation starting that's still going, and she's told everyone in our old friend groups that I was abusive and that's why she cheated. My reputation is destroyed among my friends, my life is destroyed financially, and I can't even seem to get a job when just a few years ago I was sought after as an employee. I have gone back and forth between pain, self-hatred, and hating her. Now I just accept it. I hate her, I wish I never met her, and I want the life that I worked so hard to provide for her, but I want it for me. I have to restart, again. I have to crawl back up the ladder, again. I have to work through big T traumas, again. I have to relearn everything I've had to do already, again. It makes me hate life. It makes it feel pointless. And I just feel like things will always continue to be this way. I'm 30 and even 30 more years of life seems just so goddamned exhausting. I have my dog though, I'm happy to be here so long as she is.